Hi Bobcats, this is Miss Lee, and today's video lesson is on order of operations with integers. So now that we've learned how to combine integers and multiply and divide those positive and negative numbers, we're going to throw them all together, mix it in by using order of operations. Okay, so just like in 5th grade, when you are given more than one operation to perform, we have to remember to follow the order of operations. And the order of operations, a quick way of remembering it, is PEMDAS. P stands for the parentheses, E stands for the exponents, and we're not using the exponents just yet. We will use that later on in the year. And then we have multiplication and division, the MD, and remember it goes from left to right, so it's not always multiplication first. It's what do you see first as you're reading the expression from left to right. The same thing for your addition, subtraction, AS, from left to right. So let's go ahead and do an example. This is one of your 5th grade TEKS questions. This equation can be used to find B, the number of dollars that Mr. Cooper earned as a sales bonus last week. What was the amount of Mr. Cooper's bonus? So we're actually given the expression, and now we're going to use PEMDAS to solve it. So the first thing is parentheses. We do have parentheses, and I'm not sure how you were taught in 5th grade or how your 5th grade teacher wanted you to show the individual steps that you're solving, but I like for you to actually either like underline it or highlight it. Some people kind of like do that, and that's fine. Just so long as I can see what step you're doing. And since I like to underline, I'm going to underline. So that's going to be my first step, is to solve the operation inside the parentheses. So I'm going to multiply. And I get 351. I bring down everything else. I haven't done anything with my 429. Bring down my subtraction. And then the last step, there's only one operation left, and that's to subtract. So I'm going to come over here, do my subtraction off to the side. I have to borrow, and 12 minus 5 is 7. So I get 78. So my answer is B equals 78. So that's how we solve when there are multi-operations in an expression. We use the order of operations, our PEMDAS, and we follow that order. But now we're going to try it with integers, meaning our numbers are not going to all be positive. We're going to have positive and negative numbers. Okay, so you always want to make sure you have PEMDAS written down so that you can visually see it and follow those steps. So my first step is parentheses. I do have parentheses, so I'm going to underline it, and I'm going to solve it first. I can tell that my signs are different, so I'm going to circle them. This is a positive 20, and this is a negative 27. When the signs are different, we subtract. 27 minus 20 is 7, and then go to war. Are there more negatives or more positives? There are more negatives. So because it's negative, I want to keep it inside the parentheses. That doesn't mean it's a parentheses operations. It's just a parentheses saying, hey, look at me. I'm a negative number. And I'm going to bring down everything else. Okay, and now I'm ready to move on. There's only one operation left, and that's division. So I'm going to use my little tricks to remember the signs for my multiplication and division. I like to use the faces. So the eyes are the signs. So negative divided by negative. When the eyes are the same, that means that he's dreaming and he's having a good dream, he's in a good mood, he's happy, he's positive. So 21 divided by 7 is 3, and because it's a negative divided by negative, it's a positive 3. And make sure when you get your answer that you circle your final answer, or you put a box around it, something to identify that that is your answer. Okay, let's go to B. All right, so parentheses. We do have a parentheses, but there are no operations inside the parentheses. There's just a negative 5. This is that parentheses that says, hey, look at me, I'm a negative number. Okay, so that's not a true parentheses with operations. So we're going to move on to multiplication and division. So going from left to right, well, I see a subtraction, but this is a multiplication when we have a number outside sitting next to the parentheses with no operation symbol in between. That means multiplication. That's the first thing we're going to do. So I'm going to look at this as 3 times a negative 5. So again, it's going to be a positive times a negative. If the signs are different, if the eyes are different, then he's in a bad mood, right? He's not happy. He's going to be negative. So that's going to be a negative 15. And I'm going to keep it inside the parentheses because it is a negative number. Then I bring down everything else. I haven't done anything to the 12. I haven't done anything with the subtraction symbol. Okay, there's no more multiplication or division, so I move on to my adding or subtracting, my combining. So I'm going to circle. I have a positive 12, and I have a negative 15, but there's also another negative in front of it. It's a double negative. And do you remember what we're supposed to do with double negatives? We combine them, right? We combine them and make a big old plus sign. So now we're combining two positive numbers. The signs are the same, add them up, you get 27, and you leave it the same sign, so it will be a positive 27. Not too bad, is it? Okay, let's do C. Okay, here's our PEMDAS over here. We're starting with parentheses. We do have a parentheses. We have 2 of them. This one has operations inside of it. It has an addition. This one is just a, hey, look at me, I'm a negative. So this is the parentheses we want to do first. Negative 3 plus 5. So I'm going to circle each integer, the sign in front of it. I see that my signs are different, so I have to subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, now go to war. Are there more positives or are there more negatives? There are more positives, so it's a positive 2. The dot, you recall, means multiplication. And this isn't a parentheses, there's no operation inside of it, so I'm just going to bring it down. It's just showing me that it's a negative 6. Parentheses are done. Now I'm ready to multiply and divide. So I'm going to underline, this is a multiplication problem. So let me do my little trick. I have a positive times a negative. My eyes are different, so he's going to be negative. 2 times 6 is 12, and it's a negative 12. Okay, last example. Ooh, this looks like there's a lot going on, right? So I do see some parentheses. The first parenthesis is just a, hey, look at me, I'm a negative 8. There's no operation inside of it, so that's not a true parenthesis. The 4 in this parenthesis, that's not a true parenthesis because there's not an operation inside this parenthesis. This is actually showing me multiplication between the 2 and the 4. Okay, so we don't really have a P for parentheses, so we're going to move on to the multiplication and division, which is this 2 times 4, and 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to replace that with an 8, and I'm going to bring everything else down. Negative 9 stays the same, minus parentheses, negative 8, and bring down the plus sign. All right, now we're done with multiplication and division. All I see here is some subtraction and some addition. So when you're combining, adding or subtracting more than 2 numbers, go in row and go from left to right. Okay, so my first one is a negative 9. My next one, oh, looky there, that's a double negative, isn't it? And what do we do with our double negatives? We combine them to make a big old plus sign. So my signs are different. They're different. We subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. Go to war. Whoops. I wrote that wrong, didn't I? 9 minus 8 is 1. Go to war. There's more negatives, so it's a negative 1. Now I'm going to bring down my plus 8. This is my last step, and I didn't underline that, sorry. And I'm going to circle. I have a negative and a positive. The signs are different, then you subtract. So 8 minus 1 is 7. Go to war. There's more positives, so it is a positive 7. And that's how we would use order of operations with positive and negative numbers. Good job, Bobcats.